All right, welcome everybody to another edition of Beat Your Addiction with John Giordano. I'm your co-host Scott Jones with John, the man Giordano, right there.
All right.
And before we get started with the show, just a quick reminder, please, if you like this show, make sure that you, excuse me, you friend us and that you become, you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And of course, hit the button so you get reminders about when we're going to be doing other shows. Share it with your friends. Share it. We need to spread the word. We're not out there trying to corner the market or do advertising. We'd rather this go organically, right, John? And people just spread the word and talk about it.
We have some really cool guests on sharing their information. We share our information to help people in recovery.
And that's what it's all about. You know, John and I are both in recovery. And one of the things about being in recovery is that you help other people. And if you've got a secret sauce that works for you, share it with people. And that's what we're trying to do, right?
That's right.
All right. And if you want to know more about John and his mission and everything else he's done, for everything from all of his different publications to the books that he's written, and of course, his adventures really is what it's all about. Go to johnjgiordano.com. It's right there on the screen. J is the initial J. So johnjgiordano.com and find out all about John. You could also reach him through that site. So if you have any questions or any issues or anything that you need help with, John's always the guy who's going to answer his phone for you.
That's right.
Unless he's sleeping.
Unless I'm sleeping.
Unless you're sleeping.
And that's most of the time. No.
Yeah, that's only 18 hours a day, guys.
Yes,
you're getting older, you know, it happens.
Yeah, that's what happens, right? I'm getting younger. I'm not getting older.
He's getting younger. I'm sorry. Some people still lie to themselves.
That's a good way to lie.
All right. So we've got a great guest, and I'd like to bring her on board right now. And this is Amy Guerrero, and she is joining us from Rockport, Texas. Amy, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm really happy to be in a room with the two of you this morning. It feels really good. Thank you.
Well, we definitely have energy. Amy is, I guess you'd be a sober coach. Is that kind of the moniker you're using right now? It doesn't feel like it does enough. It doesn't do enough.
No. Yeah. I actually stay away from the sober coaching probably because I saw a lot of babysitting and taking agency away from people as sober coaches, and especially the Malibu, Southern California area. I was like, wait, all y'all are doing is taking the agency away from these beautiful humans that we want to teach these skills so that they can do this for the rest of their life. Not just, be there for their every need and then interrupt their process of actually learning how to do it and be alive and be human. So I stay away from that sober coach world. And, I'm really there to support people to regroove their patterns that have been in their life, maybe intergenerationally, and choose to stay sober, of course, because that's the foundation in which we live from, and to figure out like, oh, wow, look at all of these patterns that are still there. Look at all these behaviors that are still there that are keeping me stuck in weird things in my life that I want to be different. I want to make more money. I want to have better sex. I want to be more connected to my partners. I want to grow my business, right? Like that life stuff that takes us on back into our old pathways is the stuff that I really focus on.
Well, that's what addicts have a hard time with, living life on life's terms. Yeah. So it seems like you got a good handle on it, and we'd like to hear more about your methodology and tell us more about what's going on.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much. Exactly what I just said is what I found was missing in like the 8 different treatment centers that I went to. And then I got the privilege of working with people at treatment centers. And I was like, wow, what's really missing here is giving people agency, of reminding people of their authority. And yeah, we chose what we chose to cope for years, and it stopped working. And just because we take away that mechanism, that coping mechanism, doesn't mean that all of a sudden we know how to do life. And that all of these patterns and behaviors, for me, they started when I was a little girl. I noticed that I started escaping with fantasy. I was so great at fantasy that I thought that that was reality until I was like 6 or 7, when I really started to integrate into the school systems, and people were like, "You're a liar." And I'm like, "No, I'm just happier in this world that I created." And, it's like, I'm not lying. This is what I tell myself to keep myself safe. And I was introduced to trauma work when I was in college, and started to understand, like, oh, this stuff lives in my body. These responses, these reactions live in my body. Now, listen, I still chose, alcohol and drugs for a long time until I didn't. And when I got sober, I wanted to bring all of the trauma training that I had throughout my lifetime and bring it into the recovery space. So I call my methodologies regrooven, because first, I like that fun word. And it's like we're regrooving our pathways. These pathways to escape are still there. And I was just talking about this live last night. It's like they're never going to completely go away. It might be a different way that we try to escape, but they're still there because they kept us alive and safe for so long. And what I do is I support people to actually change their neural pathways, to actually start choosing differently consistently, to feel safe to do it, and to live like they've never lived before, which is scary, really scary, because when you look down a pathway, you want to kind of see where you're going. But when you've lived like you've never lived before, you can't see where you're going because you've never been there before. So the brain doesn't give you any evidence that it's possible. And so I support people to build the foundation to feel safe, to start building the evidence and really increase the bandwidth to handle good things, right? Like, so often we get so used to handling all of the obstacles that come our way. Like, oh, I can do anything. I'm such a warrior. And it's like, oh, and can you actually handle love? Can you handle success? And people so often come to me and they're just like, I am stuck because I can't get to this next place. And the fear isn't that they can't do it. The fear is, what will I be? What will happen if I'm successful? And then they use the word sabotage, like I sabotage myself. And I'm like, maybe you don't sabotage yourself. Maybe your nervous system, your body just doesn't feel safe to expand in that way. I mean, you're a creator. You get it. It's like when you're creating something new, it's scary. It's stretchy. It's edgy.
Yeah, you're always waiting for the other shoe to fall off. And that's what
It-
people do. They sabotage themselves because they can't handle the other shoe falling off, so they make it fall off.
Exactly. They kick it off and then they blame it on that,
Right.
so that they don't move forward anymore. And then they play victim, and no fault of their own, right? This is the design of the nervous system keeping us safe. And so I support people to be like, oh, that makes sense that you did that. And now let's choose differently. Let's start the business you always wanted to start. Let's improve the quality of your relationships in your life. And let's train your nervous system to have a different response. Stop kicking the shoe off and essentially playing victim to that. And let's start empowering you to feel safe to fall down and get back up again. Because I mean, I don't know about you, I fail every day in my business and in my life. Like, I do something weird and I'm like, whoops, okay. I sent the wrong link out to everyone yesterday. I'm like, whoops, like, send the right link out later.
Well, there are no failures. There are only lessons.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%. I use those words because those are the words that our
People
listeners
resonate with.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If I speak in my language, no one would ever understand me.
What are you saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, most people, what the problem is today is they suffer from depression and anxiety. And if you are predisposed for addiction, you're going to run to some substance or behavior to medicate yourself. And what the problem is we're not looking at. You went to the treatment centers. Most treatment centers, and I say this in every podcast, are 70 years behind the times.
Yep.
All right. They're only treating the psychological piece. There's a medical piece to this that nobody talks about. In other words, if you have a low thyroid, you're going to have depression and anxiety. I say this in every podcast. If you have leaky gut syndrome or H. pylori infection, you're going to have depression and anxiety, closed head injuries, depression and anxiety and behavioral problems, hypoglycemia, same thing. We're not checking people out for any of this stuff.
Right.
And, you can't, we're a pill society. Oh, give them a pill to fix that symptom. You never, ever take care of what's really going on, the core driver of this. And you were right about childhood. Most of our stuff is childhood, especially if you're adopted, you have abandonment issues. Oh, mom, I'm not good enough. I'm not this, I'm not that, which is not true. Sometimes they just can't handle a pregnancy, or they're using themselves or whatever, and they just want the best for the person. There's different situations for each person.
Absolutely. And I'm so grateful that my mom chose not to raise me. Like I'm grateful that she didn't, and that took time for me to get there. I got there in
Right.
like my 20s, and then it's changed through my 30s. It's like it was the best thing that happened to me that she chose, that she wasn't ready for that kind of responsibility.
Well, you push through it. See, a lot of people don't. A lot of people play victim. They blame everybody. They feel less than. They have low self-esteem. All that stuff, and they're not looking at it from a more global approach. And the thing is that what you're doing is exactly what you need to do in order to punch through it and get well and stay well.
Right. Yeah. And I love your masculine words, and I'll add like that beautiful feminine balance to it. It's like sometimes we've been punching through things our whole life. And so it's often like that surrender, that slowing down, that allowing of like, ooh, like I punch through things with drugs and alcohol because I definitely did. I would power through. I would do a bump here, a bump there to get through things. And now I'm like, oh, can I slow down? Can I listen to my nervous system? Can I listen to, I mean, a big part of my work with people is healing their gut. 100%.
Very
It's
good.
so
And
important. Yeah. And
well, they
I
don't
was
know.
diagnosed with H. pylori in high school, like well before the times of it being a thing. And my gut was so dysregulated based on my traumatic responses all the time. I was constantly in a state of a sympathetic or a fight flight response. For you all that feel that way, like impending doom all the time. And when I healed my gut, that went away. I started sleeping better, having more pleasure in my life, feeling better. And like, I was like, oh, like this could have been solved a long time ago, but that information wasn't out there.
It's a pleasure speaking with you, because most people do not know how important your gut is. That's where serotonin and dopamine is manufactured. It goes up your vagus nerve into your brain. So people don't even understand that the food we eat and no exercise, no this, no that, your gut really is a second brain.
Absolutely.
So you're right on money what you're talking about. It's really nice to talk to somebody like you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's so much of my work is around vagal toning and really learning that we have a control system with our vagus nerve to our whole body.
That's right.
And I tell people, I'm like, I'm going to give you the control system to control your emotions and to control your body responses, to control your fight, flight, or your freeze response. Like you're going to learn that you can actually tone your nerve so that it can support you to live your best life. And instead we're constantly fighting it or numbing it or trying to like make it wrong. And I'm like, no, it's all
You got
this
to embrace it.
messaging.
You got to
Yes,
embrace it. Exactly correct.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And that because of the pill culture, because the doctor can fix it by making the symptoms go away, but not treating it from the root cause, there's this conditioning in our world that it needs to happen really fast.
Right. It's a
And I don't
process,
know
not
about
an event.
exactly. I mean, I'm supporting someone right now to heal their gut, and she's felt better than she's felt. She had COVID, and she had the long-term system, the symptoms of it. And in 7 days on this protocol, she feels better than she's felt since before she got COVID. And she's like, holy shit, like my mind is blown right now. I'm like, good. We want to get your mind out of it. Let's let your gut do the talking, right?
Right.
Let's let your body heal itself in that way. And that's so possible.
So, language is very important. When I tell people, when people say, go to a meeting and they say, I'm an addict, I say, no, you're a recovering addict. If you're an addict, that means you're active. It's language has a lot to do with how the emotions work, how the gut works. And people look like, I'm going to try to do this. I think I can do that. Or maybe I can do that. when you start using these types of words, you're sending messages to your whole body, not just to your brain, that you're not sure.
Yeah.
And if you're not sure, you're not going to put 100% towards what you want to accomplish.
Yeah.
So we're on the same page.
Yeah, we are. And I'll tell a little story about this. When I started my business, I was still in treatment. I started writing my program in 2014. It took me 2 years to stay stopped. And when I started supporting people, I was living in sober living and I was on a mission. I depleted all of my money from every which way. I borrowed $30,000 from someone. I borrowed $20,000 from someone else. I went all in. I was like, I believe that there is a different way to recover, and I'm going to like be the stand for what I know. And it took taking a huge financial risk, a huge emotional risk, a huge, like a lot of my friends from 12-step programs and beyond didn't want to talk to me anymore. I was like, okay, that's okay. When I jumped both feet in, when I said, I stopped that language. I told all the messaging that I sent to my body, my mind, my spirit was like, this is happening. I am doing this. And it was a tremendous act of like courage and all of the things. It was the first time in my life with clarity that I didn't stop myself with all of the unhealed emotional pain and trauma. I just was like, I'm doing this. I'm going all in. And it was one of the most healing things that I could have done for myself. And now I get to have the affect on millions of people all over the world that just watch my videos or whatever they do. And then all the people that say yes and come into my programs and my groups and my one-on-one work. And I see the ripple effect in their life. And I'm like, never a day goes by where I regret doing that. Never. Right. And I just don't think I couldn't. I never thought like, I can't do this. I'm like, I'm going to do this.
Well, see, that's the whole difference. If you want to be a winner, I'm also a grandmaster in the martial arts, and I train people how to fight and all this kind of stuff. And, if you go into a fight, you're worried about getting hit in the face. That's the first place you get hit is your face, because you bring it to you.
Yeah.
What you put out there comes back to you, and people don't realize that. And one of the things that I don't poo-poo anything. If they want to go to church and get well, I don't care where they want to go. Okay.
Exactly.
But you see, I had the same problems that you had probably in the beginning, because I was into nutrients. I was into the gut. I was into the way you speak, into all that stuff. And people would say, oh, yeah, go to Giordano. He's going to give you a vitamin and cure you. Now they ask me what I do.
Exactly.
I never, ever put down any way, because everybody has a different footprint. Some people go to treatment, they get it. Like I only went to treatment and I only had one white chip. That's it. Some people have to do it 11 times, 5 times, 2 times. Some people don't go to treatment at all, and they do it through the meetings. Some people don't go to meetings. They go to church. Some people, everybody's different.
Absolutely.
So I never put down anything. But what you're doing, I always encourage people to try things differently. If you're finding it's not working for you wherever you're going, people say, well, NA doesn't work. Church doesn't work. I said, no. You don't work. All right? Things work, but you don't work. So it's not going to happen. So same with you.
Resonating. Yeah.
Yeah, well, same with you. When you do things the way I do things, if it doesn't work, it's not because we're not giving them the roadmap. It's because they're not following it.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why, it sounds like you as well. Like I have so many different tools in my toolbox based on their nervous system, based on their past experiences, their behaviors. I'm like, oh, like I can already see that you have an avoidant pattern. I can already see that, that the way your nervous system is, you're more dorsal, like you stay in that collapsed mode more often. So I bring out that set of tools to support that and meet them where they're at. And John, for me, that was the biggest thing that was missing, was that I just felt like I was consistently not being met where I was at.
Right. And that's what a lot of therapists don't do properly. Yeah. You got to go where the client's at, not with where you're at. Because if you don't go where they're at, you're never going to get anywhere, because you fall out of rapport.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I remember this one particular therapist in Calabasas, and I was like, it was almost like she was challenging me to fire her, which I did. She was
kind of girl.
Yeah. But she was constantly like, if you don't like the way that I do things, then you don't have to be here. And I was like, she was so hung up in it being her way and she was a trauma-informed therapist. And like, I look back on that experience, and she gave me so much ammunition to do my business, to meet people where they're at, and like with so much confidence, because I'm like, that hurt so badly to be met that way. And I felt that consistently. And if you're out there and that's how you feel, it can be another way. Like,
Absolutely.
100.
Like I was doing therapy the other day, a group therapy at this facility, and they had this woman who was molested. And I was molested when I was a kid. So I started talking about me. And previously, she told the staff that she doesn't want any men to give her therapy, only women. Well, at the end of the group, she told them that she wants me to give her therapy, because you can self-disclose. It's okay. Most therapists, you can't self-disclose. Give me a break. How are you going to get a rapport with somebody? If you have something that you can share with them that they relate to, this is what you need to do. It's not about me, it's about them, but they got to feel comfortable with you. Otherwise, knowledge is power, but without action is worthless.
Absolutely. And John, I had so many similar experiences when I was working in treatment centers, where I was there to help them with their nutrition and teach them, how to eat and heal their gut and all the things that I was teaching. But they all wanted one-on-ones with me, not because they wanted to learn more about their nutrition, because they wanted to tell me everything that they weren't telling their therapist, right?
Exactly.
Because we had that rapport. I was meeting them where they were at. I was on the ground with them. I was sharing my experiences. I was still, and to this day, I run my business so imperfectly. And I'm willing to show all of that to everyone. It's like, I make mistakes. I ain't perfect. I'm not here to be perfect.
I'm really happy to speak with you, because you're on the exact same page as me. And I don't find that too often. Everybody has their own agendas. And I say, look, sharing information with somebody is the best way. So you're touching their heart, not their head. Most of these people, like I had a therapy session yesterday, and I had an intern that does mental health. And the mental health people, unfortunately, a lot of them, they don't know about addiction. I said, well, how much addiction training do you get? They said 1 class. And she says, I don't know anything about addiction. Yeah. So I'm training her, the teacher, about in her ballpark, because I can't treat, in an addiction book, because she has no clue. Yeah. So I went to the inner child with this guy, and, he was resistant. And I saw that it wasn't the adult, it's the kid that was resistant. So I went right there to the kid, and he opened up, and then he started getting at the end of his seat, and he was like really listening, not just hearing me. Yeah. And I explained to the girl, see, this is how you got to approach people. If you're coming against a wall, you got to find out which way you can open the door to get in there.
Absolutely.
But what you're doing is excellent, and more people should listen to what you're doing. And I don't normally say that, okay, but I'm listening. I know I don't. What you see is what you get with me.
Heck yeah.
And the bottom line is, you're on the right path. All right. And, if I can share whatever information I can share with you, or we can share with each other, I'd love to do. Just because we're on the same journey to help people, and that's what life's all about.
Absolutely.
As far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. 100%. That's why I'm here.
Right.
The more people that know this, and the more empowered they are to actually make it a way of life, then maybe we can stop this in the family systems forever, like at least in theirs, and then they teach it to someone else and they live that way. I mean, that's what I get so emotional about it, because I watched that happen in family systems, and I'm like, that's a result of someone being met where they're at, opening their heart, allowing their inner child, or the parts of them that have been exiled for so long, come forward, be met where they're at, and then have tremendous, real, like tangible change.
I think you'll really enjoy my book, The Kid from the South Bronx Who Never Gave Up.
Oh, I haven't read
it. And you're right. My father was a heroin dealer. My family was a mafia family. I only went to the 9th grade. All of these things, and how I went through my journey, and how I got so many things happened to me, but I kept going. It's just like what you said earlier, like you had this vision and you had to keep going, and nothing was going to stop you, and you put yourself on the line. And that's what I did. And I showed them how, I took how to be successful no matter what your education, no matter what your family, no matter if you're an addict or not, and how I opened up a treatment center and turned $300 into $45 million.
Yeah.
And, and I'm teaching people not to say how great I am. I'm so terrific. Okay. What I'm saying to them is, look, no matter how low you get on the totem pole here, you can always rise to the occasion. And that's why I put my life out in there, to help people, to show them that they can keep doing this just like you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so beautiful. Yeah. And like that's the whole thing, is that the body and the nervous system can get stuck in. I went so far down the totem pole that I'm not allowed to come back up.
Right.
And listening to things that John and I are talking about, y'all, is like, you are allowed. You have full permission to come back up. Full permission.
Well, let me jump in for a minute, because we are getting towards the end, and you've got commitments, and we got to keep our timing here. So once again, I jump in and ruin the show for everybody. But you guys are doing great.
We'll never ruin the show.
You guys are doing great. But Amy, there's a question I always like to ask, especially when we come across somebody like yourself, who is obviously just a beautiful human being inside and out. Obviously, very intelligent, very driven. There's probably a million ways you can make it in the world. Why do this? This is the most heartbreaking thing that you can do, is working with people who feel at their most hopeless and helpless, and we lose the battle more often than we care to admit. All of us, we lose that battle when we're helping people. Why do this?
Yeah, great question. Because it's exactly that. I am dedicated to meeting people where they're at, and I do lose people. Like, it's real. I didn't die, and I am so like tearfully, like powerfully, like here to be this in the world. Just be this and choose this. And I can't even imagine doing anything else. Like I have a very strong 20 plus years in real estate, and I still have my license and all the things, and I'm just like, no, like this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I don't question it. Is it hard? Is it all the things? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I was built for it, and I'm not stopping.
I think it's like any of us, that you have those nights when the head hits the pillow and you think, why am I doing this? This hurts. This hurts so bad. I'm not going to sleep. I'm worried about these people, or I'm torn up by the loss or something. But then the next morning you walk into a miracle or something happens. Is that an experience that you can identify with? Is like, okay, I can't do this anymore, and then the next minute.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Even from one like hour to the next, I'm just like, oh, that's right. I mean, and how do I stay anchored in what I know, what I believe, what I know is true, and be that for someone? I always tell people I will not be moved. You can act out, do all the things you're going to do. I will be here, secure and stable, and doing my own work, by the way. Like, I have a lot of support for myself. I will not be moved. And that is a force that was, hard to find when I was on the other side of this.
Well, I always tell people, remain teachable. I'm a student. Yes. And as long as the better a student you are, the better teacher you will become.
Yeah.
But you also have that stubbornness, that steadfastness, John, that she was talking about.
Well, that's what she has.
When you were building what you were building, there was a lot of times you came across people who said, no. And you said, no, I have to keep going. And so the fact that you two both have that, I think, is your best connection, and that people can rely on you because of that. Yeah. Because you don't just get wishy-washy and go with the tide. You hold your ground and you say, this is where I belong. And that's important.
So, well, what I like to tell the audience, go to her website. Okay. She really knows what she's talking about, and I believe she can help you. Mm-hmm. And I don't normally say that, but you're right on the money in the direction you're going in. So that's just my
absolutely
take on everything.
So it's Thrive in Recovery with Amy.com, and on there's all sorts of information about the programs and about her journey. And there's a podcast and other things on there too, right?
Yep, absolutely. I do all the things. As many people as I can.
Amy, get my book if you can. I think it'll help you some more.
Yeah, I'm excited to read it. I'll tell you all about it. I'll email you, or I'll email
All right, cool.
Natalie to tell you.
Alrighty.
All right. Well, Amy, once again, I want to thank you for taking your time to join us here on Beat Your Addiction. All things. I hope you're not in the part of Texas that keeps getting hit with these like tropical storms and stuff.
I am, but we just got the wind this last time, so.
Okay.
Well, stay safe.
Yeah, definitely stay safe. Keep doing what you're doing. We're going to put you backstage for a moment while we close out the show, but don't go away, okay?
Okay, got it.
All right. John, Amy, absolutely brilliant.
Yes.
What she's doing and the passion.
Well, you know what I like also? She didn't put down anything. She just said, "This is what I do. Come see me." And this didn't work for me. That worked for me, and that's what life's all about.
Exactly. I think when you go to her website, and one of the first things that hit me on her website was that there's pieces of everything that can be used. You don't throw everything away.
You don't
because
throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Exactly. I don't even know where that's a horrible term. Where did that come from? Did somebody actually do that once?
They may have.
It's horrible. Anyway, so check her out. Again, that's thriveinrecoverywithamy.com. Her name is Amy Guerrero. We want to thank her again for doing everything that she does. And John, of course, you and I will be back again sometime next week with somebody else. But want to remind everybody, please, if you like the show, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like this and share it with your friends. And most importantly, if you go to johnjgiordano.com, reach out to John, let him know what you're thinking. If you got an idea for a show, let John know that too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, because we might be overlooking anything to do with addiction, mental health, or overall wellness.
Well, one of the shows I want to do is on family. So that's another thing.
Not my family.
Well, not mine either, but I mean somebody's family.
That's not a tree you want to climb, John. All right, brother. So for right now, for John Giordano, I'm Scott Jones. We want to thank you for joining us. We'll catch you next time right here on Beat Your Addiction.